Hello everyone and welcome again to another edition of SQL Server 2022 Tips and Tricks Best Practices Part 3. So in this part we're going to talk about best practices regarding high availability, replication and creating a SQL Server cluster. So I'm going to take a look upon my notes. So we're gonna have now high availability and disaster recovery best practices, creating SQL Server cluster and SQL always on availability group. Okay, so first of all, what we are gonna do, I'm gonna switch to my DC. Okay, I'm gonna use PowerShell. Alright, I'm gonna run it as administrator, and from here we are gonna be doing most of the things because I'm gonna run commands in PowerShell. Next to that is gonna be faster and it's gonna be more automatic because you can do those things of course by the GUI. Okay, so let's start. First I'm gonna set my credentials just to a variable that is called alt. Okay, and I'm using here my domain credentials, domain admin credentials, because both are my servers, SQL servers, are in the domain. So for it to work, you need to have both of the servers in the domain, and you're gonna need to use the domain administrator password. Okay, so first of all, we're gonna go with so I'm gonna use my two servers, SQL1 and SQL2. I'm gonna install the feature, so I'm gonna install failover clustering. If you want to do it from the server side, all you need to do is you need to actually go to the add roles and features, and here you will have failover clustering, add feature, next, and it's gonna install everything. So I'm gonna do it just for both of them, so I don't need to actually do it manually on each and every server. Okay, so let's check what's gonna be next. So after installing the feature, we're gonna be installing another feature named RSAT clustering with all the sub features. We're gonna of course install it from our DC. Okay, so SQL and SQL2, both of them have successfully installed it. Now we are gonna be invoking this, installing this feature, RSAT clustering. Okay, let's check what's gonna be next. So after that we are gonna be invoking another command from the DC, and we are gonna be creating a folder that is gonna be named witness share, because if you are using clustering, you gotta have a witness. So then we're gonna create first a folder on a separate disk. So regarding that, I need to have another disk as well. So I'm just gonna check because I don't know if I have one on my DC. Since I don't, I'm just gonna add another disk. storage. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Because in order to actually create the folder is going to reside on the second disk. Okay. So let's check. My other disk should be available right now. So I'm just gonna put it online. Initialize. I'm just gonna change the name to data, and that's fine. And our disk is created. Now let's go here. I'm just gonna copy this line. Okay, let's wait a moment until this finishes. Okay, it's done, and it doesn't need a restart. So now we're gonna actually create the folder, and at the end we are gonna create a share. So we're gonna create a SMB share. There's gonna be as you can see, we are using witness share that we just created. Okay, and now if we go here and we're gonna go to the disk, second disk, E drive, a witness share. So here's gonna be our witness share, our folder we are gonna use. Okay, what's next? Let's see. So now we are gonna actually go to creating a cluster. So we're gonna use tools. I'm gonna go failover cluster manager, and of course before actually creating a cluster, what I suggest is actually first running a report configuration, so testing. So let's validate configuration. I'm gonna just check everything for any problems that may occur. Okay, let's find our two servers, server 1, server 2. Okay, there we go. We're gonna run all available tests, and now we need to just run it, and we're gonna wait a moment until it actually validates everything. So what I suggest is, after actually running this validation, just check what kind of errors you have, try to correct them before you actually create a cluster, because after you create the cluster you're gonna probably have some more errors coming up. So it's better to go into the clustering without any errors, because they can pile up pretty fast sometimes, depending on your configuration or misconfiguration. So probably I'm gonna have some errors regarding network, regarding updates probably on two servers, because you also need to remember that if you want to cluster few servers, it's best to actually update them with all the available patches and updates. So when you run the validation, you won't have any kind of errors. Of course, there are gonna appear some errors during our preparation for the replication and SQL Server clustering, but I'm not gonna correct those errors right now because I know them. I'm just gonna leave them and I'm gonna correct them as we go, so you can see what kind of errors you might encounter. Okay, so we're gonna view the report. Okay, so inventory is fine. Networking, of course, is not, because we only have like one interface, one network interface here, because this is a how to call it, it's a closed environment, and I have only one network interface, and on top of that it's a virtualized environment. Okay, validate software update levels. There we go. So basically it says that on both of those SQL servers there need to be some updates done. So, but I'm gonna leave it for now, basically, so not gonna go through that. That's just fine. I done majority of the updates previously. So now we are gonna actually create a cluster. So we're gonna go here, and again we're gonna select our two servers. So SQL and SQL2, that's fine. Let's go next. We're gonna choose a cluster name, SQL HA, and I'm gonna choose the IP address for it. And there we go. Now we just need to wait until the cluster is up with the nodes. Okay. So this is how it looks. We got our nodes. Both of them are. After all of this, we can go here and we can actually configure class, go more actions and configure cluster quorum settings. Okay, so we're gonna select a quorum witness, and here we're gonna configure a file sharing witness, because that's why we actually created the file share, SMB file share. I'm gonna browse and advanced find. So I'm gonna choose, of course, the DC, and I will probably need to let's go to the disk for a moment. I'm gonna put it online. Show shared folders. There we have our witness. There we go. I'm gonna choose next. And here's our file share. Okay, we can check it up here once again. Data, witness share. Okay. Okay, we can also inspect active data, Active Directory users and computers. We can just go to the OU, which I called SQL, and I got here SQL, SQL2, and SQL H8. So our failover cluster, everything is fine, everything is here. Perfect. Okay, now after all of this, we can actually go once again and validate the cluster. So we're gonna see what kind of errors we will get now after actually attaching the drive, or the share, not the drive, but the share. Okay, let's view the report, because I saw some kind of errors. And there we go. So first class clustering configuration. Let's check cluster nodes. The nodes in the cluster are not running at the highest cluster functionality level. Please run update cluster functionality level at your earliest convenience. Okay, so basically what we need to do is run PowerShell. I'm gonna go here. And we are gonna do update cluster functional level, and the name of my cluster is gonna be SQL HA. Yes. And there we go. So this is taken care of. Let's check what we have next. Cluster configuration. Validate resource status. The cluster network name SQLite does not have create computer object permissions on the organizational unit. Okay, so basically we need to go into our OU. So in my case it's SQL, where my SQL servers are in SQL HA resides. Properties, security. I'm gonna go to advanced. Okay, now we're gonna go to add, select a principal, advanced, and now we are gonna go to object and types. We are gonna go for computers, find, I'm gonna choose our SQL HA, I'm gonna give it full control, apply. Of course you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't give it full control, you should actually apply only those permissions that are suggested here, so create computer objects. Well, I just did it the easy way, let's say. Okay, it should be fine right now. Okay, let's check network. Of course, the network is the same communication, so just one interface, that's fine. System configuration, what do we have? Validate operation system version. The nodes are not in the highest cluster functionality level. That was done. And system configuration, let's see, updates. Yeah, okay, updates. No, that's fine. So basically, if we would run the validate cluster now, after those things, let's check once again. Okay, so let's check the report. And we have only system configuration now, and network still the same. Validates after update levels, so only updates, so that's fine. So basically we corrected all the majority of the problems. So fine, so now we can actually go to our servers, SQL servers, of course. So I'm gonna go to my first node 1. Okay, I'm gonna log into node 2 as well. Right, and on both nodes, what we need to do is, first of all, we need to go to the SQL Server Configuration Manager. And in here, we'll need to go to SQL Server, Properties, always on availability groups. And we're gonna select Enable, always on availability groups, Apply, OK, OK, and I'm gonna restart the service of SQL Server. And we need to do the same here on the second node. Okay, so after that, we can close this down. So I got my SQL open here. And let's check upon the nodes what I got next. We need to go to SQL Manager, turn on always on availability groups. That was done on both nodes. Yeah. Next we connect both SQL instances on node. Right. So on this node, I'm going to connect both instances. So I got the first instance connected. I'm going to connect the second instance of SQL here. Okay. And next we are going to create a user with a group. So just going to copy all of this. And we're going to go here, new query, and paste. So we're going to first use MasterDB. Next, we are going to create a login called HAuser with a password. And we're going to use SalesDB. So this is my database that is going to be synchronizing during replication. You can actually check it up here. So here's the SalesDB database. And now we're going to create a user for the login that we just created. The user is gonna be just called HA, and his role is gonna be in database data reader. Okay. So here's HA user. Here's this user, and we now need to actually copy this user to this to the second SQL server, and for that I'm gonna actually run another query. And now I'm gonna actually copy this password. I'm gonna go to the second database. I'm gonna scratch this query on the database on the second SQL. I'm gonna paste this and I'm gonna execute. And there we go. And now we should have in the security logins, we should have our HA user, and there it is. So users are implemented to both SQLs, that's fine. I'm just gonna put it like this. Okay. Let's check what's next. So we have done this. So now it's time to create a availability group on node 1. Remember to open the port 5022. Yeah, because that's the main port that is going to be used for replication. So you need to actually remember to open this port. So we're going to go to on the SQL 1, on node 1, we're going to go to always on high availability. And I think actually we need to also restart both nodes. I'm just gonna restart both of the nodes. Yeah. And actually I'm gonna open the port, this port. I'm gonna wait until both of those nodes come up. Open PowerShell on my DC. Well, let's run PowerShell. Paste this. So it's just opening the port 5022 on SQL and SQL 2. So let's check the nodes. Nodes are up. We can run it. Again, admin credentials, and the port is now opened. Okay, so let's go back to our nodes. Let's go back to node 1. Okay. Just gonna start those services. Okay. I'm gonna go to always on high availability groups. and we're gonna create a new availability group wizard. You can go to the wizard, and now we are gonna create a new availability group. So we're gonna do next avg, I'm just gonna call it availability group. I'm gonna choose database level help detection as well. And here, as you can see, I didn't want to actually correct, like I said previously, any errors, so I can show it to you. So I didn't make any backups of this sales DB that I created. As you can see, full backup is required, because in here you need to choose which database you want to actually involve in replication. I want to involve sales DB. I cannot click here anything because it says that there is a full backup required. So before you can actually do this, you need to do a full backup at least once. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna back it up. Okay, now once the backup is done, I should be able to choose this database. And there we go. I can choose meets requirements. Now we're gonna add a replica. So in this case, we are adding SQL to. I'm gonna change it here to yes. So readable, secondary readable, yes, it's readable. Now we have our endpoints. So like I said previously, you need to open port 5022 on both SQLs. So it was already opened, and you need to meet those circumstances here as well. So SQL Server service accounts, as you can see, mine is just managed by local account, and here this one on SQL Server 2 is managed by some virtual account. So this wizard won't allow that. So when the validation comes, it will throw an error because this needs to be the same. Of course, in other environment you would use just a different kind of specific account for your SQL Server. I know about this, of course, that's normal, but this is just a test environment. I just want to show you how it works. So of course everybody have a different kind of users created, and they have those users with different privileges and so on and so on. Okay, but just going back to this, let's go back to node 2 because I need to change this because it won't accept. The validation won't go. So basically what I need to do, I need to go into the SQL Manager, SQL Services, Properties, Built-in Account, Local System, Apply, Yes, Restart, and now it should be fine. Okay, let's go back here, let's refresh. Okay, backup preferences. So we're gonna choose preferred secondary. So automated backups for this availability group should occur on a second replica. If there is no second replica available, backups will be performed on the primary replica. So that's fine. Let's go back. I wanted to show you this as well. So what we have here, the endpoints tab lists at least one endpoint that uses only Windows authentication. However, the server instance might be running under a non-domain account. To use the listed endpoint, change the corresponding SQL Server service account to a domain account. So to continue using the non-domain account, alter the endpoint to use a certificate. Okay, so basically what it says is I'm not using any domain accounts here. I'm logged in as a local account administrator on both SQL servers, so I'm not logged in as any kind of special SQL user within the domain. So this is why this occurs here. Okay, so what do we have here? Select your data synchronization preferences. I'm going to choose full data and log backups. And here what do we need to do? We need to actually create another folder that is going to be specified for backups. So I'm just going to use the same kind of PowerShell scripts that we used before. Just gonna go back a little bit, just gonna change the names. So basically let's just choose this one. We are gonna create it's gonna be named backup. Okay, so I'm gonna create a folder called backup on the E drive, and of course I'm gonna create the share for it. Okay, once again, backup. Let's call it back. Okay. And there we go. Now we should be able to actually go back here. I'm gonna go to browse. I'm gonna go to the DC one, and we have our back. I'm gonna select it. Next. And there we go. So we need to check two things. Okay. So first of all, check for compatibility of the database file location on the server instance that hosts replica SQL 2. Okay, so basically we go to the error. The following requires directories do not exist on a replica SQL 2. Yeah, exactly, because the thing about it is you need to have those specific maybe I will show it like this. Let's go to properties of my first SQL. So if we go to the database settings, as you can see, my backup is being held here, right? My backup has been held here. My logs are being held here. My SQL data, right? Okay. So I got it a little bit differently here, and it's a little bit different in here. I'll go to properties, advanced. Sorry, everything as you can see is on C drive. Yeah, so it cannot be like this because it doesn't allow this actually. So what we are gonna do in a moment, and I need to actually go back. I need to go back because I think I missed the listener, and I did. Because after backup preferences, we need to also go to the listener. We need to create a listener, create an availability group listener, and just I'm gonna call it availability group. I don't know, one, whatever. Port, number of port. Let's say I'm gonna choose like, yeah, and I'm gonna add a IP address. One that I know that I can actually use. Okay, yeah. So in a moment we're gonna actually correct this. So I'm gonna, until it checks, I'm gonna go to the SQL Server tool. Okay, and in here, actually I need to create another disk. So since I don't have enough space here, I'm just gonna shrink this one. Okay. Let's go with data. That's fine. And now here, okay, let's go to SQL 2. Trusted certificate, yeah. Now we're gonna go to preferences, properties, sorry, database settings. And what I'm gonna change here, first of all, I need to create MySQL. Okay, I'm just gonna create a folder called MySQL. And inside this folder, I will create two folders. One is going to be data. The second one is going to be called backup. Okay, fine. I'm going to choose here SQL data and eSQL backup. Okay. Okay, so let's check. So as you can see, validation, everything went well this time. So that's all I needed to do, just to go through the validation successfully. And now we can actually run the configuration. So you can actually expand this and see what's going on. Okay, so as you can see, the wizard has completed successfully. Everything has passed, so we can close it down. So now we can actually go to our always on high availability. If we go here, if you can see, we have right now replicas, databases, group listeners. And if we expand everything here, here is our available replicas. So SQL 1 and SQL 2, they are synchronized. You can see synchronizing both of them. Now we can check on the SQL Server 2. If we go here to the always availability groups, let's check. It's our secondary, and there we have our replicas again. Okay. So let's connect here. Okay, yeah. So this one, as you can see, secondary, it shows that it's synchronizing as well. Here's our database, and here's our availability group that we created, AG1. Okay, and here we can go to our databases, and as you can see, database SalesDB is synchronized, and it has been copied from the first SQL server to the second SQL server. Okay, so the only thing that is left right now, we can do a failover, of course. So I will show you how to do the failover, and we'll check if everything actually goes without any problems like it should be. Okay, so I just wanted to check here if the nodes are fine. Let's check. Nodes are up, everything is fine. Okay, so we can start with the failover. So basically, what we are gonna do, we're gonna go here to the primary. We're gonna do a failover, and we're gonna failover to the second one, to this second SQL server. Let's connect, and let's start. And there we go. I'm gonna close it. So as you can see, the status of this SQL server has changed to secondary, and this one changed to primary. So the failover has went without any problems. So basically, SQL Server 2 is now our primary server. The first one is our secondary. So now we can go back. I'm gonna failover once again. So the first one, I'm gonna connect. And there we go. And they switched. So the primary is back here and the secondary is. Okay, so if it goes to replication, of course you can go and change the settings in the properties. So let's check. We have here permissions. If we expand it, let's go here, application primary. We can go to properties here on the primary, and here we have actually failover mode. It's automatic. You can set it to manual if you want. You can set it to automatic, and you can do the same with here in properties, right? Manual. I'm gonna set it up to automatic as well here. Yeah, so basically that's it if it goes to replication and creating availability groups. One more thing at the end of the video that I wanted to mention, just before I finish, I wanted to show you that I made a slight change before actually finishing the wizard, this availability group wizard. Have changed in the properties my account, because previously it was set to a local system, but if you have it set on both servers on local system only, you won't be able to finish the wizard because it will throw some kind of a permission issue. So just remember to set the account for some kind of user. In my case it was just the administrator, but in your case it's going to be a different SQL user, and it has to be the same user on both servers. Okay, so once again, thanks for listening. I hope it was helpful. I hope you will be able to do the replication on your side, and as always, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.